Hey there, lovely people. Welcome to Be Your Best You with Tash and Becky, your go-to hangout for all things spiritual, subconscious, and downright magical. We're here to sprinkle a little mystical wisdom into your everyday life and help you level up your reality.
Picture this as your cosmic coffee date, where we chat about the unseen world, blend in some psychology vibes and stir up the subconscious magic. Get ready to be the queen of your own reality, live a life that lights you up and have a blast doing it.
So grab your latte or your tea and let's dive into another episode of Be Your Best You, where the mystical meets the mundane and your best life awaits.
Cheers to creating magic together.
Let's do this. Hello and welcome to our very first full-length episode of Be Your Best You with Tash and
Becky.
So, as this is our first episode, we feel like just for this one we need to start right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Where did it all start for us? When we asked ourselves this question, one thing came to mind for both of us at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was this. Obviously the title of the podcast episode, which is Everything is Energy. That's what really kind of changed our view and serves as an anchor for us, isn't it? Through everything that we do now, even 4 years down the line, it always comes back to that.
It does,
doesn't it? And it's like we were talking, and it's what Becky said, because obviously I kind of started this journey and dragged Becky along for the ride. I don't have to drag her. I've never had to drag her.
But jumped on.
Yeah. But that's where it kind of clicked for me with my scientific mind. Yeah. But Becky said that was the kind of thing that opened up.
That was my light bulb moment when you explained to me everything is energy and how we accept other things that we cannot see. Sound waves, electricity, energy from electricity, all those things that we can't see that we totally accept. So why wouldn't there be a whole other unseen world out there?
Yeah. It's so true though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not, and it's not until you think about it that you really just say, well, I can't deny that. And you know, I think tell me, I can't quite remember, but was it when I was explaining to you, so when I started thinking about like the quantum physics and I was just saying we are energy, is that's what I was talking about? Yeah. So maybe we'll just have a quick talk about that. So basically, my intention in everything that I do in my work, and obviously with this podcast as well, is that I feel like I'm quite good at making the complicated kind of concepts, maybe the things that seem too hard to understand, or on the other side, and I'm talking like the scientific stuff, or on the other side, all the woo-woo stuff where you're just like, well, that's just nonsense. I can kind of bring it all together and merge the science with the spirituality, if you want to use that word, it's very broad, and kind of make it into just everyday language and concepts that you can understand.
Yeah, definitely.
That's my hope, anyway. Definitely. So, with that being said, you may or may not know this, but also I also want a disclaimer. I am not a quantum physicist. I am not a trained scientist, but I do like to read. I do like to understand the sciences, and I think I have a fairly good grasp of it.
You're very knowledgeable.
Yeah, so everything that I'm saying, obviously I am not saying is true fact, in that I may have got something wrong. I don't want to sit here and say everything that I'm saying is factually correct and this is what it is. Please, if I say something that's wrong, please let me know. I'd love it if there's any scientists out there. I'm not sure there will be listening to this, but who knows? But yeah, all I'm saying is from what I've taken from it, from my understanding of being in the scientific world, going through medical school, enjoying reading and understanding the science, I do have quite a good grasp, and therefore I would like to be able to put that into more manageable terms that we can understand, and as long as it makes sense to you and it helps us, which at the end of the day it doesn't matter if it's completely factually accurate. Anyway, I feel like I need to put that disclaimer out there. We don't need to say that again, but I'm never ever saying that everything I say is right. It's my understanding.
That's right.
And it works for us. So
absolutely.
Anyway, With that being said, we are all vibrating. We are not solid.
No.
You think you are. So you look at your hand now and you're pushing it with your other hand and it feels very solid. But the truth is, if you look down at an atomic level, we are just empty space and very minute vibrating particles.
Yeah.
And the thing that's making you feel like you are hitting something solid are actually just the electrical charges between the atoms in your palm of your hand and the finger of your other. And that's all it is. That's what's stopping you from falling through the chair that you're potentially sat on right now. And yeah, that's what it is. So we are all energy and we all vibrate and move. Everything is vibrations. And this is where you start thinking about like the term vibes, like high vibes and positive vibes and all of that. It really truly is coming from vibration. So, you know, we have the higher vibrations and the lower vibrations. And as humans, we're all vibrating at different levels. And when you think about someone that you really, really get on with, and, you know, you just walk around and you just think, oh, just click with her. Or just click with him. It's just easy. More than likely what's going on an energetic level is that you guys are vibrating at a very similar speed and frequency. And so you resonate with each other. It's like tuning forks. Have you ever, did you do it at school or did you ever see like the experiments where you have a tuning fork that's set at one vibration and if you put another tuning fork that's set to a different vibration and you bang one of them, nothing happens. But if you get another tuning fork of the same vibration and you bang one of them, the other one will automatically start vibrating because they resonate with each other. And so that's what's happening.
This is what I love. You put it so simply. Oh, I wish I'd paid more attention. But now I am.
Yeah, and you might find the video will probably pop up on your phone now, won't it? Because that's what happens when you talk about something. But yeah, so that is...
And that's
basically,
science.
That's science.
Which we accept.
Exactly. We accept it when we see two tuning forks. It is no different when we see me and you. So us sitting together now, we are vibrating at the same frequency because we know we do, because we get on, you know, with each other very well. And so we resonate.
Feeling,
it's that comfortable feeling. Exactly. And alternatively, if there's someone that they haven't actually done anything to you, they've done nothing wrong, but they're really great on you and you just think, oh, really? Spiky, I don't want to be around them. I don't know why. It's because you are at two completely different vibrations and you're just not in harmony with each other. You don't resonate. And it's a bit like, you know, the magnets that they just repel each other and it just doesn't feel right. So yeah,
it makes so much sense.
It really does. It really does. And you can use this everything is energy, and we will. And like as the episodes go along, we'll always, I'm sure, revert back to everything is energy. We do, don't we? This is just one way of explaining it right now and looking at it. But you can always use it to kind of come back. As I said, it's like an anchor, isn't it? To come back to explain why this unseen world is actually very much there. The effects of it are very much there. So like you said, you know, we have Wi-Fi waves. While we're sat in this room and wherever you're sat now, you're going to be bombarded with all kinds of different waves, radio waves, Wi-Fi waves, you know, telephone waves, everything, 4G, 5G, whatever, the lot, microwaves. When you use them, they're everywhere. We can't see them, but we know they're there because we see their effects.
Yes.
Bit like the wind. We can't see the wind, but we know that its effects because we see it blowing the trees and all of that. So this is where when people say, you know, can't see it, so it doesn't exist. This is where I'll always just come back to this. You know,
exactly.
There's so much going on.
We're programmed, aren't we, to believe certain things.
Oh,
definitely, 100%.
100%.
Yeah.
You see that even with my kids. I mean, they're 15 and 12 now. And when I try and talk to them about some of this stuff, straight away it's like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I think, my gosh, they're so young and already it's just so cemented in there that they just won't accept this, you know, this kind of alternative view of looking at the world. Yeah. And that is what we wanted to do this podcast for, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, when we say we kind of want to make the unseen world
work for us. Work with us.
Exactly. And just to make people aware that just because you can't see things, it doesn't mean you can't use them. They're not using you. And why not learn to use them, like you said, to help you?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so we should probably talk about why I kind of realised about this everything is energy, and why it was such a big deal, I suppose, and where it's, you know, it's been the reason that's kind of taken us on this journey of exploration that we find ourselves in. So obviously, well, not obviously, not obviously at all. I lost my mum in 2020, and that sparked this kind of journey off for me. Now, I should say that previously I had already started to kind of like personal growth, kind of looking into myself before that, actually, for, you know, a few different reasons. That part had already started. However, it was nothing about the kind of, as we like to refer to it, as the unseen world. That was not on my radar. In fact, if anything, it was I would actively go against it. You know, I was very much a scientist, a scientific mind. Atheist. You know, there's nothing after this, which cracks me up now as a past life regressionist. It makes me laugh. But I was very much like that. However, as we will talk about as time goes on, we've both always been interested in what we would have probably called the paranormal, wouldn't we, before all of this? It's normal now. To us, there's nothing para about it. It's normal. But I was always interested in it, as were you. And actually, I kind of grew up in in inverted commas spiritual household.
Your mum was very spiritual,
and my auntie, and I think my nan was as well, but I was quite young when she died, so I only know from what my auntie and my mum would say. But you know, there were always kind of tarot cards around. We did have a Ouija board in the house. So that's another podcast episode for those goings on, those shenanigans. You know, always talked about healing. I've always had a back issue since I was 16. And it would always be like, my mum would always say, you know, I'll put my hands on you, or my auntie would say, let me put my hands on you, and it was just kind of normal, it was accepted. So I did grow up in a very kind of open household in that way. I also had experiences as a child. And I got very scared when I was a teenager, which actually we've kind of worked out now, where I shut myself down at about probably 13. I shut myself down from all of that because I was so scared and so terrified.
And with your scientific brain, that enabled you to shut everything down and try and explain everything away.
Absolutely, God, and I did a good job of it. I did a very good job of it. And, you know, anytime I would try and think of that the paranormal or the unseen world could exist, straight away my scientific mind came in and said all the reasons why it couldn't, and I was happy with that because I didn't want it to be real, because I was terrified of, you know, ghosts and spirits and energies, and it
even
terrified
when
me.
You'd had those experiences as a child.
Absolutely terrified. And this was a problem, you know. I'd be up all night not being able to sleep, up until 5 years ago. But anyway, so I was very staunchly against any of this kind of stuff. Then I went to med school, and that reaffirmed it. You know, complementary medicine, stuff and nonsense, all of that. And that was just how it was. And then I lost my mum, and that's when everything changed. And you know, Becky knows this, but it was a very profound moment, I would say. I remember I had lost her. It's been a couple of days since she had passed away. And by the way, my mum and I were like best friends. She was my person, very, very close to her. And if you could have asked me what would be the worst thing that could happen to you, that would be extremely high on the list.
I think we even had conversations about losing our mums, didn't we?
Yeah.
How scared we were.
Definitely. You know, years before that, hadn't we? So we had, it was something we spoke about quite often.
Our worst fear.
Yeah, exactly. And then it happened, and it happened quite quick, didn't it?
Very.
It was quick, and it was a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
And obviously it was during lockdown. So she had lung cancer, and she was going through chemo, and so we weren't allowed to see her. We couldn't see, part of it we weren't allowed to see her because of lockdown. Then when things started opening up, we were scared to see her. She was scared to see us because we didn't want to give her COVID with lung cancer, for goodness sake, you know. But it did mean that we didn't get to see her an awful lot, and she died very suddenly, which was a shock. And it turned my life upside down. And I remember thinking, I felt like I was adrift. I was adrift in an ocean, like on a raft. And I didn't know where I was going, what I was going to do. Like, everything kind of changed. And that's how I felt. But anyway, so this moment, about 2 or 3 days after, you know, we lost her, I was stood in my kitchen and I was looking out my patio window, and I remember thinking to myself, I cannot accept that she is just gone, that she was here and now she just doesn't exist. And bearing in mind, obviously, everything that I believed in was that, you know, there's nothing after this, you're gone, that's it. And I kind of found comfort in that, because I just thought, oh, well, once you're gone, you're gone. Yeah. But I just knew that I couldn't carry on thinking that way. No. I could not continue taking another breath at that point if I thought that there was any way that she didn't exist, that she was no longer here in some form. And so from that moment, it was almost like a light switch turned, and I could swear that now neural pathways in my brain changed at that moment. And I know they do say grief is one of the biggest learning learning curves, one of the biggest change makers. And I think probably, I'm sure I have heard, and I could probably go and research this, maybe someone could tell me, but I think they have proved that grief can literally rewire your brain in an instant. And I can tell you right now, if it does, that was one of those moments. I felt it. You can't even explain it. No. But from that point on, I thought, she exists, and I'm going to prove it. Yeah. And when I get on, you know, Tash,
if she says she's going to do something, she's going to do it with bells on.
Yeah. So that was it. So I just thought, I need to prove this. Yeah. And then after a series of events, what I would have called back then coincidences, but we now call synchronicities, I was given exactly what I needed. Yeah. And now I will say right now, for maybe the skeptical minded people out there, you could say that this is confidence bias. You know, is that what it's called? No, confirmation bias. Sorry, not confidence bias. Confirmation bias. You know, when you want to prove something, you will find any way to prove it. Yeah. And I absolutely believe that is true. Mm-hmm. But I will, and maybe at that point, that's what I was doing for survival. Yeah. I knew that I could prove something was real if I needed it to be, but that was what I needed to do to survive at that time. Yes. So, yes, but after God, all the things that happened, and now the 4 years that have passed, and, you know, it's kind of gone from there, I can 100% say that I have absolutely zero doubt that this is confirmation bias anymore, and this is just here, and I needed that to allow me to see that all the potential of what was there. That's if it hadn't have been for that, I would never have changed my outlook. No. I would have always remained no, there's nothing else. Science. There's nothing else. Yeah. But so that was when I first discovered that everything is energy, and I was reading a book. And I got to a very prominent part that was basically saying that there is life after death, because everything is energy, and energy cannot be destroyed or created. It can only be transformed. It can, So I was reading something about that, and then and there is life after death. Yeah. And as I was reading it, I was sat in the lounge with Chris, my husband, and as I was reading it, the light flickered.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? No. No. But then it was like, again, that was another one of my eye-opening moments. I was like, oh. So I read that same paragraph out to Chris. And as I read it, the light flickered again.
Wow.
And Chris, who was very, very, skeptical, even more maybe than me at the time, looked at me, and we just were like, wow.
That was something.
You can't.
No.
But again, that was the first thing that happened. Yeah. That was the first. And so still, I still had a way to go to believe. Yeah. But it was very kind of like, I can't ignore it.
No.
And that was the whole, there's an unseen energy out there that you just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not there.
That's right. And your mum was working so hard to get that message to you.
Oh,
you had
so many. I can't even remember them all, honestly.
But it's that how they get in and manipulate that energy, those other forms of energy, the electricity.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how she was really getting to you with the TV.
Well, I remember that was one of, so there was one that this kind of time had passed a little bit, and she was being very active, and not just with me, other people were come in and saying, oh my gosh, I had this happen, And I remember one night I was in bed and I was crying, as I did a lot back then, and I was talking to her in my mind. Chris was in bed with me, and I just remember saying, please turn the telly on. Please just let me know you're here. I just need to know you're here. It's always in the times when you need them to show up the most that they will. Like, you can't expect to have these things happen all the time.
No.
But on those times where you really need it, that's when they'll come through. And she, as I said, please turn the telly on. I heard, dun-dun, the Netflix sound.
Amazing.
And
you can't deny that sound.
It came on downstairs. The telly came on downstairs, and Chris said, what was that? And I said, I just asked Mum to turn the TV on. Wow. And I went downstairs, and I was kind of like, oh my God, creeping down. And I went downstairs to disprove that. I went downstairs to try and find some reason. Did the dog put it on? Did the cat turn it on? So I was looking for all the animals. The dog was up with me. The cat was in a completely different room. So then I was looking at the remotes to see if anything was there that could touch it. There was nothing. There was nothing there. Now, again, I know that people can listen to this, and some of you will be saying, I know I've had those experiences. Some people that haven't, I will totally get, and I completely understand that you could hear these stories and think, well,
we did the same, didn't we?
100%. And it's not until it happens to you and it means something to you that you can realise there's something more at play here. Because there's lots of times when a TV will turn on and you just think, oh, that's weird. It doesn't, you can't make everything mean. No. You have to be very careful. You can't make everything mean that it's a sign or them coming through. There are certain times when you just know because of what you've been thinking at that exact time. It's all about the timing, isn't it? Definitely. And it's when you know it. You just know. And we had a lot of them, didn't we?
And of course, after a few months or whatever, these things calm down, don't they?
Absolutely.
Again, proving to you that they are trying to get those messages to you as soon as they've passed over. And we had the same with my brother-in-law who passed away, and he liked to turn the TVs on, just like you were saying. So, of course, I was at this stage then that I'd learned all these things from you, that I knew that they could get in and manipulate the energy, and that was one of their, one of the easiest things for them to do. And he was turning TVs on all over the show, and these TVs never went on before. And this a song that he kept playing to us at these very significant times and dates, a song that it was an old song, one that you don't hear a lot, and you just can't deny it, can you?
No. Again, it's like you said, it's the timing, isn't it? It's the timing. It's always on special occasions, or like you said, dates and anniversaries, or when you really need it the most. Because it takes a lot of energy to do this. Let's get back to energy. It takes a lot of energy for them to manipulate the energy. And I do think some spirits or souls are better at it than others.
Yeah.
I don't know why. But
maybe some have more of a desire to get these messages to you for whatever reason. I've no doubt your mum was working so hard for you because she needed all this to happen. She needed you to believe.
Yeah, and it had to be. It had to get me right there because I was such a skeptic.
Yeah.
It had to be in your face, bam, we've got to do this. And I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and I was just saying that if it hadn't been for my mum's death, I wouldn't be where I am now.
No.
And I truly believe that she had to leave at that time. Like it was always a plan that she was going to go at that time, and that was going to activate me. Because there is nothing else that would have done that.
No.
And when I look at what has stemmed from that and the work, you know, how I've now fallen into the work that I do with the hypnotherapy and the subconscious work and all of this podcast, just my whole mission now in life, my whole purpose, which is everything I know without a doubt it's what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have done that if it wasn't for my mum's death at that point. I really wouldn't have. There would have been nothing that would have pushed me over to this side.
No.
And I think it was all there. It was all planned. It was all in the plan. And there's many reasons that I think that, by the way. There's lots of stuff that went on in the background, wasn't there, that was kind of happening, the coincidences and all of that. But it was almost like once she had gone, she was like, right, now I'm off to work. Now I've got to get Tasha sorted and activated. Now listen, I'm not saying that it's all about me. Obviously, there's lots of stuff at play here, and this is something that we often talk about, isn't it? How it's all so clever.
Yeah. Oh.
Everything's all so tied up, isn't it?
So connected, so intricate, and things that you don't even think of. And this is where it was good for us to tell each other everything, all these experiences we were having and all these little signs and things, because they would always come back, wouldn't they? Would always remind each other, well, oh, hang on, remember when that's because that happened or that happened, and everything was making sense. You know, and you switching me on like that with the everything is energy helped me to drop a massive fear that I had about the whole, you know, I didn't want to believe there was another an unseen world out there. That terrified me because on some level I probably knew that it was true, and I didn't. It was too big for me to understand. And you then broke it all down into all these little stages that I'm going on this journey with you, jumping on board, and everything was starting to make sense.
That's the thing, because it does really make sense when you allow yourself to see it in a different way. And actually that makes me think, so what I feel is my mission in life is to open people's eyes to seeing this unseen world. And I'm not just talking about, obviously right now we're kind of almost talking about afterlife at the moment, aren't we? The unseen world, there's so much more to it than that. This is where, you know, we start talking about your subconscious mind. It's unseen. We don't see it. We can't, it's not tangible to us, and it's not in your brain. It's something different. It's something outside of you that we aren't taught about, that we don't really understand. You know, there's so much about the unseen world.
So my mission is to open people's eyes to all of that. And we're going to be talking about all what we mean, you know, what that kind of entails. But that is my ultimate goal. And then by doing that, you know, because then what's the point of doing that? Okay, so you understand that there's an unseen world that we don't know about, and that's all real. Okay, so why does that mean anything to me? Well, what we've been doing is, by diving into that, we've realised how much control we have over our lives because of this unseen world, for many different reasons, which we'll go into. And then the fact that we can control our lives means that we can make our lives better. And we can become our best you know, like that's what it stems. So it seems like a really kind of big, broad mission for me. Like, you know, I want to let everybody know, I want to open everybody's eyes to this unseen world that I was so closed down to. And now I'm so opened up to. So that you can use it to your advantage to make yourself whoever you want to be, and therefore to create the reality and the life that you want. But not only do you do that, you get to do it gets to feel good. It makes life magical, doesn't it? It makes it exciting, and there is that sense of control. And when you feel like you can control things, obviously there's a lot we can't control, but when you dive into this world, you become okay with that, because you know that there are things you can control yourself, and as long as you do that, everything feels better and everything's easier, and you really can manipulate your reality.
And those things that happen to you that you can't control, you understand are happening for a bigger reason.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? It does this opening your eyes to this world helps you in so many ways, doesn't it?
You can literally flick that negative switch to positive once you dive into all of this. And like it's like you're saying, it's more than just like the little ghosties and the spirits that captured our attention. That was fun. That got us on this path, and then we see it as the universe. And that was another thing I liked at the time, you know, talking about God and all of that. Because you're sort of thinking, if I believe in spirits, then do I believe in God? What, you know, what's going on now? I really don't. I know this is so huge. And then I think probably you again sort of explained that, well, look at it like it's the universe. It's not one person. It's not a man sitting on a cloud. It is the whole universe coming together that wants to help you. The universe wants you and everybody to do well. So therefore, if you can work with the universe and this huge world that we're talking about, that isn't just the spirits, once you dive into it, your life can just be so positive and so full of love. You can change it all around. Even when on paper maybe your life is worse. You know, we were saying, weren't we, you know, on paper, since we started this journey, our lives could be seen by some people as a lot worse than before we started. And we were just plodding along, everything was okay. And yet in our mind, we're having a much nicer time now, aren't we? We're having a lovely time. Oh yeah, this and this is happening, but it doesn't matter. It's okay. We'll sort that out.
And we're growing. Because I think as human, this is another thing, like diving into this world has done, it opens you up to your soul, you know, and when you open up to your soul, that's when you open up to realising what your purpose is. You know, you realise that actually what you think you want, you don't want, you know, all the materialistic human ego stuff, you know, like the nice car, the good job, the people to like you, the followers on social media, all of that stuff, which, listen, it's still a thing because we're still humans, but actually when all this stuff we think we want is coming from a much deeper desire, and what I've realised is that is the soul's desire, and that is, you know, that we all want connection, we all want purpose, we all want to feel like there's a meaning to our life, and actually that's where all our gifts and abilities and strengths and talents and our happiness and fulfillment is. And when you don't nurture the soul, or when you're not aware of the soul, which I wasn't. I kind of was, because there was that little part of me, that niggly part of me that was always saying, like, this isn't right, this doesn't feel right, this is, and which I later found was my intuition, and I didn't realise that's what it was, but that was my intuition. And let's be honest, you know, your intuition is coming from your soul. And that's how your soul's trying to get through to you. So, but, you know, when we don't have this open view, this open perspective, you're blocking out your soul. And then you're blocking out happiness. So when you get to, when you realise what your soul wants, when you get in touch with this world, you get in touch with your soul, and that is when things change, because you're no longer focusing on the social media, the materialistic cars, the houses, the holidays, and all of that. That's just a symptom of what your soul truly wants, which is, like I said, that connection, the purpose, the desire, like, why am I here? Love, like, we just want to, we are, despite what anyone thinks, we are good.
Yes.
Like, the majority of humans are good, and we just want love, and we just want to be good and see the good. But unfortunately, our society and the way we're programmed has led us to think otherwise and to chase things that we don't truly want, and to see the world in a way that it's not. To see the world in such a negative way, and it's not. It doesn't have to be that way.
No.
And I want people. This is the bigger reason why I want people to open up their awareness to this stuff.
Yeah.
To hear what we have to say in a way that they can relate to, like everyday stuff, so that you can get access to your soul. And this is the work that I do. You know, when I work with my clients, we are accessing their soul's desires. They don't know that at the time, you know, because they're coming in with these kind of symptoms that I, you know, that I spoke about. But actually what I'm doing is I'm activating their soul. I'm letting their soul come out. And that's why that's why they feel better. That's why they feel powerful when they walk out, when they finish, you know, with me. And they feel powerful, they feel strong, they feel happy, they feel clearer, they have that clarity, because we're letting their soul come through.
Tapped in.
Yeah.
That's it. They're speaking from their soul, deep down.
Exactly.
We can't access that on ourselves, by ourselves.
No, I mean, sometimes you can, but listen, I had to lose my mum and have my whole world crash down just before that in order to get there. I don't want that to have to happen to other people. No. You know, this is the thing, isn't it? So often, and I'll say this with my, you know, the ladies that come in to work with me, they've hit rock bottom in some way. That's what's, you know, propelled them to come in and seek help. I don't want it to be that way. I don't want people to hit rock bottom and have to be that way.
No.
I want people to know that at any time you can do this work. You just need to have your eyes open. Yeah. And hopefully that's what our conversations will do for people. And it's like ease you in. Like, let's not hit you around the head with a giant bloody plank of wood like I had to have happen. Let's ease you in. That's like, listen to our conversations. Yeah. Stay. This is why, you know, like we say, just be open. Yeah. Be open to listening.
And also just be aware. We found that, didn't we? Just being aware of things around us.
Yeah.
And paying attention. That's the one. Paying attention.
And you know, the thing is that you don't know what you don't know.
No.
Do you? So if you are not aware of this unseen world that we're talking about, how can you pay attention to something that you're not aware of?
No.
And every time we speak now and kind of give another little tidbit, you have expanded your consciousness, your awareness, and now you can pay attention to things that you'll see. It's like that analogy I said to you back in the time, you know, this time where I first lost my mum. Yeah. And I was diving into the kind of unseen afterlife, let's say. Yeah. I read a book by a lady called Anita Morjani, and she had a near-death experience. So I got very into near-death experiences, didn't I? Yeah. That was my first obsession. Yes. It was my first path that I went down. Yeah. It's where I learnt an awful lot. Yeah. And I'm so grateful for everybody that's had a near-death experience and shared it, because it's a really brave thing to do. But from doing that really that was my first step forward, and so we'll do an episode on near-death experiences, definitely, because it's really important. You can learn so much from them. But anyway, this is why I read her book, because she had a near-death experience. She died. Yeah. And they brought her back to life. She had stage 4 lymphoma. Yeah. There was, you know, she had cancer everywhere, and she died, and she came back. And then she healed within months. Amazing. Had what the doctors would call a miraculous recovery. Yes. But she knows exactly why she healed, and that's what she talks about. But anyway, she said this in her book, and it was an analogy, and it really stuck with me. And I remember the moment I came and I told you, and when I told you, you were like, oh my God, yeah. And it was, you know, it's like, imagine you're in a warehouse. So just imagine you're in a warehouse now, and it's dark, okay? And you have a head torch on. I might be kind of paraphrasing here, and I've made it up in my own mind now, but this is effectively what she was saying. So you put a head torch on, and so now all you can see is what is directly in that stream of light in front of you in this warehouse. And so actually all you can see is, maybe you'll see a few old boxes in your path. You might see, I don't know, some tools lying around, maybe some old bits and bobs just on the floor in front of you, right? So that's your field of vision. That's your consciousness, okay, at that point. But what you don't know is that in this dark surrounding that you just cannot see, because your light's not shining on it, there are balloons going off. There's like colourful banners everywhere, all on the ceiling. There's like things going on that you just can't even imagine, just like crazy amazing stuff. You can't see it because you've just got this little torch ahead of you. And so what I feel like we want to do is give you like a big, massive, I don't know, big, I'm seeing a big like spotlight, big like floodlight, that's it. And we're putting it on, and all of a sudden your field of vision becomes massive. And you now see the warehouse and everything that's in it clearly, and you experience it. And so now you've just opened up your whole field of vision. But this is the thing, that warehouse, you were always in it. Those things were always there. They were always there, but you just didn't know.
Love it.
And so it's all around you. You just can't quite see it yet.
That's right.
So when you open up your mind, you open up and expand your consciousness, everything that's already there becomes visible to you. And it never ends. Like, this is the beauty, isn't it? There's so much now that we see, and I say see in inverted commas because it's not just about what you, obviously you can't see, it's the unseen world, isn't it? But what you can know, what you can feel, what you can understand, what you can comprehend. There's so much that we now see. But I also know, my God, there's so much more. And my consciousness hasn't expanded enough to be able to comprehend that or understand that. But the great thing is that I now no longer think that this is it.
That's right.
There's always more.
That's right.
There's always more that I'm going to learn.
Anything is possible, and you are open to hearing, you know, through this journey. There's been a few things along the way, hasn't there? Stumbling blocks where we've said, oh, that's a bit too much for us. Let's not go there. And then you find in a couple of months' time, you're totally there. And you're totally on board with all those things that you thought were absolutely crazy.
And you're so right. That's such a good point, isn't it? Because I know that there's things that we spoke about, say maybe a year ago, and we were like, oh no, that's not for us.
No.
But we didn't say no, that's not true, or that's not real, or those people are crazy, or no, that's just that's balmy. We just know that it wasn't for us at that point.
That's right.
However, now a year later, we're like, well, that's normal, you know. Tell us something else we don't know, you know. So it's like it's constant expansion. And again, going back to giving our souls what we need, our souls want growth. That's what they want. All of our souls. I mean, honestly, again, I'm saying this now from a past life practitioner, and the things that I've learned from doing past lives. If you come, you know, obviously, if you are willing to accept the thought that this isn't our first time on this earth, and it's not our last, and we have kept coming back. Why do we come back? Because we want to learn lessons. That's the whole point of doing past life regressions. And that we can definitely do an episode on that, can't we? Because Bex had some past life regressions by me. So that's that's a whole nother story, isn't it? And past life regressions, everyone's very interested in them. It's very like, oh, I wonder who I was, you know, what was I in a past life? But actually it's a very powerful therapeutic tool, isn't it? And it had some really massive effects for you in your life, didn't it? I mean, we can talk about that another time. But it's really, you know, we carry over issues and cycles of behaviour and patterns of behaviour from our past lives into this life. And so, anyway, I mean, that's a whole nother story. But as a past life regressionist, I am saying that I've spoken to lots of souls, or you know, people's higher selves, whatever you want to call it, and it's all about, we come here to learn. We come here to learn lessons. That's the whole point. And obviously that is our soul, and that is our soul's desire to learn, to always continuously expand and grow. And so once again, when you come onto this journey of becoming aware of the unseen world, and when you understand that everything is energy, and that's all it is, and that energy cannot be destroyed, and so at the moment our energy is in what I like to call this meat suit right now. Our energy, our soul, I believe that's our energy, is in this meat suit that we call Tash and Becky, and you call, you know, whoever you are. But when this meat suit dies, that energy still has to go somewhere. And then it goes off to these planes that we can't see right now, but that are there, until it decides that it wants to come back down to earth, or maybe somewhere else, and learn some more lessons. And it's an ever, you know, going cycle of learning. So I don't know, I think that's probably a good place to finish this episode, isn't it?
That wraps it up nicely.
So remember, if you don't take anything else away from this episode, everything is energy. And just keep coming back to that. So we've now maybe given you another little torch. What do you think? To have a look in that warehouse, and you might find some crazy streamers or banners going off around there. But stay aware, pay attention. Think about what, you know, kind of might be out there that you can't see. And now you've opened your awareness, you might start noticing these things.
And keep that vibration high.
Exactly.
Because that's coming back to you.
Exactly. And I want to mention before we go that we have set up our Be Your Best You podcast community group over on Facebook. As we said, and it's part of your soul's desire. So come on, do you want to like neglect your soul and not listen to it once? We want community.
We do.
And I think like we're really feeling that at the moment, aren't we? The need for community. And this is one of the main reasons again that we wanted to do this podcast, because we want to create a community. We want to create a space where like-minded people, obviously if you're listening to this podcast and you've got this far, you're a like-minded person. We're vibrating at the same frequency to a certain extent. So we want to create a place where we can all gather together and we can talk about these things without feeling like you're going to get mocked or, you know, being scared to say what you've experienced. And also this just doing this will help you expand your consciousness, because you are around people that are talking about this stuff. They're opening your mind, but also they're validating you. You know, we were so lucky that we had each other to go through this. And we know other people don't. Like, we could validate each other. But if you're going through this on your own, you've got no one to say, hey, something like that happened to me. Or this exact thing happened to me the other day. Or I'm thinking this same thing. You know, we sometimes need that validation in these early stages to really believe that, trust in ourselves.
And to develop it as well.
Exactly. And to understand what we're experiencing. Because otherwise you're going to be like me, like I was, and just explain it away and never truly let yourself be open to these things. So anyway, we have set up a podcast, we've set up a Facebook group for the podcast. The link to the group will be in the episode notes. So we would love it if you could head on over there and just join us. Our aim is that we want it to be really, really interactive. We want to be able to speak to you. We want you to kind of speak to us, ask us questions, but also speak to each other. We want it to be just really, really interactive. And then, you know, you can put questions in there and we could answer the questions, or someone else could answer the questions for you. You can answer questions for us. It's just going to be a really nice place where we can chat. And obviously while the podcast is small, it's going to be even nicer, isn't it? Because it's going to be a really tight-knit community, so we can all get to know each other. So please head on over and follow that. As I said, link is in the episode notes. And if you enjoyed this podcast, if you thought that it was eye-opening, entertaining, enlightening, all of the good stuff, and you enjoyed it, we'd be so grateful if you could hit the follow button so that you can make sure that you are aware of any of our new podcasts coming out. It also says to the powers that be that people like to hear this and will help us spread the love to and the torches to whoever needs it. And if you know anyone that you think might like this as well, please go ahead and share it. We'll be so grateful. And I think I have spoken enough today. Becky, got anything else you want to say before we go?
Wow, just please everyone head over to that Facebook page. We really want to chat. We really want that, like Tash says, that community around us. That's a big thing at the moment, isn't it? It's coming up a lot for us at the moment.
Definitely.
In the world that we live in. We all want to be back to that community, why we've been put here in the first place. Let's bring it back to that and all get together and share and expand together.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so until next time, we will see you later. Take care. Bye.